In this tutorial, we're going to add a swimming pool or a pool to this room that we built in the last video. But before we do that, I need to discuss a little bit how water works in Tomb Raider and in the Tomb Editor. You might think, let's say we wanted to add a pool in this area right here that I just selected in red. You might think, well, we can just lower that area, say a few clicks by dragging it down like that. And then we'd like to fill this with water. Tomb Raider and Tomb Editor doesn't work that way. I can't just lower a section or change a section of a room or fill just a portion of a room with water. What you need to do is create an entire room. It could be just small, one block. It doesn't have to be a big room. It depends on your use for the water. But whatever area you want to be water, you need to make that a separate room. So this area we just lowered is part of this room that we built in the previous video. So we can't fill that with water. So I'm going to raise that back up and then show you how to do it the right way. Let me reselect this, bring it back up. Oh, I missed a stretch. There we go. Okay, so let's reselect that. And then remember, in the last video we used this portal digger to add a new room along with its portal. So that's what I'm going to do right here. I have this selected already. And now I'm going to drag this down. Let's say 3 clicks. It's going to be fairly deep. But what that is now, that is a new room. You can see up here, over in the room options, it's called Room 3 Dug Below. And it is this space right here. The room above it, if I double click in there, that is called Room 2, and it's this room that now has a big portal in the floor because that portal leads to the swimming pool we just built. So now what I can do is go back to this room right there. I'm now looking at the Room 3 Dug Below. Let me change the name of that. You can rename rooms in the editor here by clicking the pencil icon. I'm just going to call it swimming pool. So now we'll know this room is the swimming pool. But also down here in this room options, you have room type. There's a couple choices there. Your normal room, which is everything we've been building so far. And then you have an option of water and quicksand. So I'm going to choose water, of course, since we want to build a swimming pool. So right now we could say that we're done. If I view this textured, it certainly still looks the same. But let's play test this and I'll show you what happens. Here's Laura in our original room. And you can see the swimming pool in the floor as I approach it. It's got a water effect already playing in it. That's part of choosing water room for this area. Now it doesn't look, it's not textured with a water texture on top. That's something we still have to do manually. But if I walk into this room or into the swimming pool, it acts like water. Laura is swimming. You got bubbles, you got refraction. She comes up. You can climb out just like it was a typical swimming pool or water room in Tomb Raider. So now we want to texture that, of course. So we get a water texture on top and also underneath. When Laura's in the water, she can look up and also see the water texture. So let's do that. First thing I want to do, and this really has nothing to do with the water room, I'm going to go back to this room above it. I want to raise this edge. You don't have to. You saw I could get in and out of the pool just fine. but it looks nicer and is more typical of Tomb Raider if the edge of the pool is raised by a block. So now let's get back in here. Let's texture that water correctly. Over here in the textures, we're going to have to choose the Peru textures we've been using. Down here are some water textures, this area right here. So now if I tried to texture this and I just say click on a block, it's going to texture the floor or the wall that I click on. I can't click what would be the top of the water right now by default. So let me undo those two textures I just applied. What you're going to have to do is go over here into the 2D view of your room. The whole area of our room happens to be water. So I'm going to select that whole area. This whole black area in the 2D preview. And then I'm going to right click it one time. You see the outline right now is red. When I right click it, it turns green. And once it turns green, these buttons right here also became active. You might notice, let me deselect it so you can see that. When it's deselected, all of these options in the editor are grayed out and not usable. So let me do this again. I'll select it, make it a red outline, and then right click once, and it becomes green, and these texturing options become available. So when these first become active, the toggle no opacity is highlighted in blue. What we want to do is choose the textured and traversable. So that will let us place a texture on the top of this pool, but Laura can still move in and out of it. So what we want to do, we want to choose the textured and traversable. Now when I rotate up, you can see I can see the top of the room, the water textures above. If I were to select a different one of these, well, this one, the toggle no opacity, that area of selection disappears. So what this does is it selects those polygons so I can give them a texture. So in addition to this, we need to choose set double-sided right down here at the bottom of the texturing panel. When you select that, it'll paint the texture on this face facing down into the pool, and it'll paint the texture on the face above facing up into the pool room. One last option we need to check. These are the blending options. Normal always just paints the entire texture as a solid looking piece of art. You have lots of options here that you can explore, but what we want to do is choose additive. That'll make it look semi-transparent like water is. So now that we have the texture selected, double-sided, additive, and we're on the textured and traversable, you can just go ahead and paint this like normal, and you can see as I paint over it, they become kind of translucent. It's hard to see the detail of the water, of course, because it's just gray and white, and all of the other textures so far painted in here are just that white default texture. So let's play test this and see what we can see. So as I run down there, you can still see the refraction and the water type reflections on the bottom and sides of the pool. But you can also now see there is a water texture. It's not animated right now. We also are going to have to make that an animated texture. But you can see there is a texture now on top of the water. And if I swim down in and look up, you can also see the texture is on the bottom side as you look up through the water out of the pool. And we also made our little edge here so it looks more like a Tomb Raider style swimming pool. So I think in the next tutorial I'm going to do some texturing detail. What we'll do, we'll animate this water texture. And then in the first room that we created back here, I'll show you some techniques to randomize these textures a little bit so they don't repeat so much on the wall and the floor. You can see they just repeat over and over again. And I'll show you some techniques on how to fix that so it's not so repetitive. And we'll also see how to animate this water texture, or you can animate other textures as well with the same technique. It doesn't have to be water. But the important thing to remember about water in Tomb Raider is you have to create a room for the water. So for example, even if we wanted a little pool or puddle on the floor, you have to create a room for that. That little puddle would be a room all by itself as a water room. That's it for this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one.